So the purpose of today, today's session is a market warming and engagement session. Just for clarity here, it's not a procurement exercise and no funding decisions will be made as part of this event. The purpose of this is to start engaging now to give organisations early visibility of where the programme is heading into year two. So you have the time to prepare, reflect on fit and build partnerships where needed. So over the next 45 minutes, we want to do four things. So first of all, that would be to explain what the full potential programme is. Second, to share our year two priorities and cohorts. Third would be to help you guys understand how boroughs will commission delivery. And finally, it's for us to outline what you can do next to stay engaged. So by the end of the session, you should have a clear sense of the programme's direction and how your organisation might be able to contribute. Okay. So first off, if we kick off with a CLF overview. So CLF stands for Central London Forward. We here are a sub-regional partnership made up of 12 central London boroughs: Camden, the City of London, Hackney, Haringey, Islington, Kensington and Chelsea, Lambeth, Lewisham, Southwark, Tower Hamlets, Wandsworth and Westminster. Now CLF's role here is to coordinate and align activity across boroughs where that adds value. We don't replace local decision making and we don't deliver services directly. Full Potential is therefore essentially a multi-borough programme that's delivered locally but supported by a shared strategic framework. Now it is funded and supported by national and regional partners, but shaped by local labour markets, local needs and local relationships as well. Now, this model, it does allow flexibility at borough level, but it still maintains consistency, quality and shared learning across central London. Here we go. What I'll do is I'll now hand over to John for this slide.
Thanks very much, Josh. So just wanted to give everybody a bit of an overview of what the Youth Guarantee actually is. Some of you will be familiar with the Youth Guarantee, others perhaps not so much. So this was launched as part of the Get Britain Working white paper. And the Youth Guarantee ultimately aims to support 18 to 21-year-olds to access apprenticeships, training and employment support on a test and learn basis. So there were 8 regions in England that were picked for Trailblazers, and they're piloting initiatives with investment for projects that test, learn and identify areas of delivery that make a real difference to the journey of a young person. So they're tackling both economic inactivity and NEET. The Youth Guarantee Trailblazer from Central London Forward in year one was specifically focused on care experienced young people aged 17 to 25, which is slightly outside of the kind of 18 to 21 policy intent of Youth Guarantee. But of course, there's a statutory duty of care for care experienced young people, which is why we had the ability to move the goalposts in terms of age eligibility. So some of the key principles, particularly around the test and learn model, are that evaluation will be key in terms of finding what works and what doesn't, and that will hopefully shape the kind of service design of a overarching programme to support both young people and economically inactive people that should be fully devolved in the future under the Devolution Act, and also things like integrated settlement, local government reorganisation, and we're expecting decisions on that probably at the end of year two, when we've had time, a bit more runway to see exactly what works and to evaluate that and to make information-based decisions about the best kind of routes to training and employment for young people. So that's it from me in terms of kind of what the Youth Guarantee is all about. It is the intent is very much test and learn, and very much about trying to leave a legacy of better joined up services within local authorities, better collaboration, more innovation, and listening to the voices of young people in terms of shaping service design and future delivery. Thanks, Josh.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. So now we've got the intent and the ambition. You're probably wondering what is full potential and how full potential works. So full potential is CLF's Youth Guarantee Trailblazer program for Central London. Now, it has been designed specifically to support young people who are facing multiple and complex barriers, particularly those who are NEET or at risk of becoming NEET and who are unlikely to progress through light touch or short-term interventions. Now, the Full Potential program, it focuses on building confidence, skills and aspirations, removing structural barriers and connecting young people to meaningful education, training and employment pathways that can be sustained over time. Now, in terms of how Full Potential works, delivery is borough-led and place-based. So each borough designs its approach around local need and local labour market conditions, rather than focusing on a single fixed model. Now, delivery is built through partnerships between local authorities, VCSE organisations, employers and training providers. Now, this approach is essential because no single organisation can meet the full range of support that a young person needs. Okay. So whilst delivery models vary across boroughs, they do operate within a shared strategic framework, and that framework it ensures consistency around priorities, outcomes, quality and expectations, while still allowing flexibility and innovation at a localised level. So in practice, what this means is that support is tailored, coordinated and responsive, but there's a strong focus on sustained progression and not just short-term activity or job starts there. So if I hand back over to John here for year 2 focus and priority cohorts.
Great, thanks very much, Josh. So we have already learned a number of lessons over the course of in year 1. And as I say, year 1 was very much focused on supporting care experienced young people. So in collaboration with the 12 member authorities within Central London Forward, we've put together a delivery plan which widens the cohort of young people that we are aiming to support. So I just wanted to run you through those 4 very specific cohorts. So the first is general NEET young people, particularly those furthest from the labour market, who often experience multiple barriers: mental health, housing instability, low qualifications. And that cohort is aged 18 to 21, which obviously meets the policy intent of the original Youth Guarantee under that Get Britain Working white paper that I mentioned earlier. The second cohort is care experienced young people, which remains true to the original intent of the Full Potential programme within Central London. So the age range for those young people will be 17 to 25, in line with that statutory duty of care. And it will include care leavers who ultimately need stable employment pathways, trusted relationships to be built with support workers, and that wraparound holistic support. The third cohort will be young people with special educational needs and disabilities. And again, that age cohort will be 17 to 25, in line with the statutory duty of care, very much including those who are transitioning out of education and focusing on inclusive employment, employer readiness and in-work support. And the fourth and final cohort will be young people who are homeless or involved in the youth justice team. So that again will be 18 to 21. Experience of homelessness, involvement with the youth justice service, and very often requires specialist and kind of trauma-informed delivery. So what that means for potential delivery partners is that we really value specialist expertise in those areas. Kind of strong safeguarding, inclusion, trauma-informed practice is essential. And the ability to work collaboratively with borough services and a number of different teams within local authorities. So that's what our intent is for year 2. And moving on, I think, am I on the next one, Josh, as well?
Yes, mate.
Fabulous. So just to let you know kind of how we envisage this commissioning to work. So firstly, it's really important to state that it's not CLF ultimately who will make commissioning decisions at this point. The key message here is that the boroughs within CLF hold the purse strings. So they are responsible for commissioning services across the piece. So CLF sets the kind of strategic framework and the shared outcome approach and supports the collaboration and the learning. And we also have accountability for the programme aims, the objectives and the outcomes. But the individual boroughs within CLF, as Josh listed earlier, they have responsibility for designing and commissioning that local delivery. They decide the procurement routes and the timelines, and they select the providers that best meets the needs of their residents within the framework of the Full Potential programme. So in terms of what you should expect as providers, multiple commissioning opportunities across different boroughs, the potential for open procurement exercises, grant funding, partnership or consortium models. But it's really important that you can actually evidence local knowledge, your track record with priority cohorts, and your ability to work flexibly and collaboratively on this programme. So market warming, which is what we're doing today, is obviously about helping you guys to understand the direction of travel, position yourselves appropriately, and start to build relationships with both boroughs and partners. And formal opportunities to be involved in the Full Potential programme will be advertised by boroughs imminently. Thanks, Josh.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, John. So next steps, what attendees can do now and what CLF will do next. So just to be clear about what does happen next and the role both CLF and attendees will play as we move into year two. From an attendee perspective, there are 3 key actions. So firstly, take time to reflect on how your organisation aligns with year two priority cohorts, place-based delivery and the principles of the Youth Guarantee. I mean, this does include being honest about where your strengths sit and where partnerships may add value. Secondly, that would be to consider partnership or consortium working, particularly where delivery for priority cohorts requires specialist expertise or integrated support across different services. And thirdly, to stay engaged with the borough networks and communications, as boroughs will lead commissioning and will advertise formal opportunities in due course. Now, from Central London Forward side, we will continue to play a coordinated and enabling role. So we will share summary materials from today's session, including key messages and next steps to ensure clarity and consistency across the system. We'll also support ongoing engagement between boroughs and providers, so helping connect partners where appropriate and share learning from across the programme. And we'll also continue to provide updates as commissioning timelines and priorities emerge so that the market remains informed and prepared. Okay, so ultimately our overall aim is to ensure a confident, capable and well-prepared delivery market going into year two, with strong collaboration across our boroughs, our providers and our employers. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the formal part of the session, should I say. So what I do want to do is thank you for taking the time to join us today, for engaging early with the Full Potential programme and our plans for year two. This is very much the start of an ongoing conversation. So some of the questions that you have may be borough specific, and where that's the case, we're very happy to follow up offline after the session. But we do now have time for any questions, reflections or clarifications. So please do raise your hand or pop it in the chat and we'll do our best to respond. But thank you once again for your interest in and the role that your organisation wants to play in supporting young people across Central London to reach their full potential. I know we've got a couple of hands here. So we've got Joe Carter.
Hi, yeah, just a quick one. We're based in Hackney, but we find that even if we're offering a Hackney specific service, you'll get young people from Tower Hamlets, Haringey. Is that going to be if it's so borough orientated, how will is that acceptable, or Do people have to attend in the right borough?
From a service provider, I think that's a conversation that we can potentially coordinate between the boroughs, because if there's a need, we can then look at coordinating that through the boroughs to see how that can play out, and ultimately how you can play a part there. I believe this is a collaborative program, so again, that is a piece of work we can pick up with the boroughs. John, I'm not sure if you've got anything to add there, but I believe that's a piece of work we can coordinate.
Yeah, thanks, Josh, and thanks for that question, Joe. I think ultimately, whilst it's really important to remember that each individual borough has that responsibility in terms of commissioning, where we find any kind of patterns of multiple boroughs wanting to commission a single partner to deliver services, it would make more sense for CLF then with the agreement.
I would say this is not what the, I mean, I agree with you. I think that's a good idea. But what I'm saying is young people don't see borough boundaries. And so they arrive at anywhere. And it's important to be able to welcome people wherever they've come from. But you can't say, oh, we think there'll be 3 from Waltham, well, it wouldn't be Waltham, 3 from Haringey and 2 from Tower Hamlets. You don't know that.
No, absolutely. And I guess it would depend. If you were commissioned by a specific local authority, it would depend on the agreement that you have with them, because a lot of work has been done in terms of kind of data analysis around the number of young people in each borough that could be supported through this programme. So if we start kind of operating in one borough and then having referrals from others, it skews the numbers that we've agreed in the delivery plans with each individual borough. That's not to say that that's an insurmountable task. There's certainly ways around that, but it is important to remember that that's where the numbers for this that we've signed up to have come from. It's from that data analysis of in-borough residents.
Okay.
Rishad.
Hiya, Rishad.
Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. It's really, really interesting. One of the questions I had for the team was around, we operate as a tech provider, and John and I have had a conversation. Are there ways to convene or help people to collaborate into those consortia or collaborate? Is that a role that CLF are doing, or is it actually just, you guys have all got to fend and work it out? Because I think a strong value is collaborating in delivering. It's a huge mammoth task, but just understanding how we could do that.
So I'll take that one, Josh, if that's okay. I think it's really important that we stay true to the spirit of a test and learn model. And so absolutely open to anything at all that will ultimately enhance the experience of young people who are receiving these types of services, because that is the intent of the Youth Guarantee in its entirety. So nothing's off the table. Proposals are welcome from any and all partners that want to be involved in this, to see how we might be able to take things forward from the 1st of April.
Okay, thank you. And Hannah?
Hi, thank you. It's Hannah O'Brien here from Youth Build Ventures. I was just wondering, you talked about obviously the first year and the learning. Where can we find kind of more detail on that? Just because that would obviously help us prepare.
So thanks, Hannah. That's a good question. So at the moment, we're concluding, or our partner, Learning and Work Institute, who we've commissioned to do the evaluation of year 1 from the kind of mobilisation and implementation through to the end of this March. That is a piece of work that's not fully concluded. And so there will be a published evaluation report, but it's not going to be before we start all of this for year 2. It is a good point, though, and I think we could look at maybe
even top level,
early top level identifiers of what we've seen, what works and what doesn't. Can you leave that with us, and we'll come back. We have got a question and answer log that we will be publishing after this call, probably about a week after, to give people time to email us as well if they've got any other questions. And on that, we will absolutely include that, and also have a think about how we might be able to go about making some of that information public before the official publication of the evaluation report.
Great. And I have another question, sorry to take your time, but I wondered, I know you said, each local borough is obviously, in charge of commissioning their local services for this, but I wonder is there somewhere that you hold centrally that, kind of summarises, you know, each borough's kind of, you know, focus, but also when and where and how they will procure the services, because, you know, it's kind of then otherwise we have to, especially when you're a small organisation, non-profit, time resources, you would have to then go out and spend a lot of time looking at those across those boroughs. So I just wondered if there was like a centralised feature for that.
There isn't currently, but it's definitely something that we would look at. Absolutely, what we're trying to do is reduce duplication and repetition, and try and make things as easy as possible, both for our member boroughs and also for potential supply chain partners. So we are working on at the moment a kind of synopsis of the 12 individual delivery plans, what they look like, what the delivery model looks like at a high level. We've agreed that will be shared across the 12 boroughs. I don't see why we can't ask boroughs whether they're happy for that information or part of it to be shared
at least,
with
at
potential
least
partners.
kind of where they're procuring what system and key dates would be really useful. Thank you.
Yeah, leave that one with us, Hannah. We'll go back to you.
Brilliant.
Got any other questions at the moment on the call?
Can you answer the ones in the chat?
Yeah, of course.
Apologies, I can't see the chat in my current mode. I'm not sure if Josh or Miranda might be able to.
Yeah, of course. So what are the numbers of young people that we're aiming to reach? So in regards to year 2, we are looking at 1,200 eligible residents. So we have care experience, youth justice, etc. That total tally up to 1,200 residents reached. If you want a further breakdown of that, we can look at each individual grant cost register through the boroughs and provide that individual breakdown there as well. So you've got more of an idea there as to what we're expecting borough by borough. Sorry, I'm just going up to the top, but my laptop is not having that. So for young people with criminal history, are there any offences which are not accepted? We've not received any rejections from the GLA as to what offences will and will not be accepted. So that's currently an open criteria there. So anybody with a criminal history there, we can accept and we can support. Has self-employment been seen as an alternative to employment? Yes, that has been, and that is something that we are currently looking at supporting residents with. Obviously, that will be delivered at a localised level, but that is definitely an alternative to employment, should that fit what the young person is looking for. Sorry, important cue. Okay. And that is all the questions in the chat there. I believe we've got, let me just get them in order. So Joe, I believe you had your hand raised first.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks for today. Very informative. I was just wanting to check in on how you want to communicate us as a group, and let us know, you know, the key timelines and the conversation earlier around what boroughs, what their focus and needs and priorities are. How would you do that? Will you create a select group, or will it be via web links, or just what should we look out for?
A great question, thank you. Just to pick up on that, so we will have everybody's details that's registered for the call today, and therefore any information that we disseminate will be via email in the first instance to you all as a group.
Thank you.
Okay. Hiya, Tom Onions.
Hi there. Thank you very much for today. Yeah, super interesting. I just had a quick question. I understand this has been procured at borough level, but does the CLF have intention to procure something like this at a sub-regional level anytime soon? Thanks.
So shall I take that one, Josh?
Yeah.
So ultimately, for this particular programme, because of the nature of the grant funding, the boroughs have that individual responsibility. However, as I kind of alluded to earlier, where we identify a trend that multiple boroughs are planning on commissioning the same provider, it absolutely makes sense that we look at central procurement for a number of interventions from that provider in order to kind of save time and governance processes. But to answer your question about future, that's very much undecided, because a lot of what the Trailblazers are designed to do, and there are 16 in total, so there are 8 economically inactive and 8 Youth Guarantee Trailblazers currently operating everywhere from kind of West Mids Combined Authority, Tees Valley, Southern England, Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and a few in London. And until all of the information through the evaluations and the data in terms of the kind of achievement rates and what works, until all of that's been effectively analysed, we don't know what will come next in terms of how the funding will work, how the commissioning will work. My sense is that because of integrated settlements, we'll see an overarching programme that is devolved, that's managed by devolution deal areas or accountable bodies or mayoral combined authorities, and that the service design for that will be very much localised. So in terms of London, that throws up a different perspective, because clearly around the country where there are mayoral combined authorities, which are different in terms of the way they operate to the GLA, everything is decided at that combined authority level. Because London is obviously so vast and has different complexities and is divided into 4 distinct sub-regions, we can't yet answer the question as to whether or not the GLA will be the commissioner, for want of a better expression on this, or whether funds will be devolved directly to the 4 sub-regions, and therefore it's far too early to be able to say how that will look at any other level. Hopefully that answers your question, although I appreciate it's not very clear.
No, that's fine. Yeah, because to be fair, like the GLA in the past has commissioned like ESF NEET programs, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's too early to say if this would go down to a sub-regional level or not in London. So, okay, all right, thanks. Thank you very much.
Tom.
Thanks.
Hiya, Bella.
Sorry, I might have missed this at the beginning, and I really apologise if you've already been over this, but what are the timeframes between now and when that obviously it's borough by borough commissioning framework, but that you're imagining the work to be done? What are the sort of imagination around in each borough, how much of the proportion of the funding is being commissioned out to the voluntary sector rather than kept in-house by the local authorities? Is that designed into the structure? And who's designing the reporting frameworks? Is that centrally held by you guys, or is that going to be by each independent local authority?
Thanks, Bella. That's two great questions. So firstly, in terms of timelines, the year 2 start is the 1st of April. And so between now and then, we would expect boroughs to start having conversations and to be, if they are commissioning, to be giving those opportunities publicly. However, because of the nature of the test and learn, it's almost an ongoing situation as well. So there may well be procurement that happens after the 1st of April, and that would be on an individual basis. What I can assure everybody of is that all boroughs within CLF and CLF ourselves will operate within the structure of the Procurement Act. So there will be a set of rules followed in terms of how and when commissioning happens.
Okay. And anything around the framework around whether it's local authority led or voluntary sector?
So we do have that information within delivery plans.
Yes.
However, delivery plans are subject to change right up until the 31st of March,
Right.
as agreed with both DWP and GLA. And that was to allow us a bit more flexibility, because we did have a bit of a late start. So because of our kind of hold up with the grant funding agreements and the data sharing agreements, a lot of the delivery for year 1 started around June, but the funding started on the 1st of April. So in terms of things like evaluation and data analysis, we didn't really have enough runway when we had to submit the year 2 delivery plan to be able to make meaningful decisions. And so we've given ourselves a bit more time on that. What I would say is if I think somebody else on the call mentioned about having an overview of what it looks like across the 12 boroughs. If everybody agrees to that, we will certainly put some assumptions around whether or not it's internal delivery, supply chain delivery, or what proportion of the split that might be.
Okay, thank you. And the reporting frameworks, and is that centrally held by you?
So currently reporting frameworks held by DWP.
Right.
And so in London, sub-regional partnerships that are running a Trailblazer will then report to GLA, who report into DWP. And as I mentioned, I think on the last response, that's why London is one of many reasons why London is a slightly different complex situation, because in other Trailblazer areas like Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, there's a direct reporting line from the combined authority to DWP. So we kind of have to go a third-party approach in London. Does that make sense?
Yes, on a I suppose it's what, yeah, we'll be responsible for, what we're signing up to be responsible for, but ultimately, thank you. Yes, that sort of gives me a picture.
Thanks, Belle.
Thanks.
Hiya, Lucy. Hand's gone down. So I'm going to assume that's answered your question as well. Hiya, Chantel.
Hi guys, thanks so much for the recap and sharing all this information. So I just had a quick question just about the 12 boroughs that are already going to be working, that you've already mentioned, and obviously they're out of London at the moment. So for the work experience placements or the jobs that are in London, are they going to be only limited for people that live in London? So for example, I live in Hertfordshire, but I work in London because it's not a crazy commute. Is that the same options for the young people 18 to 21 NEET that need jobs, and the jobs are available that are in London, but they might live in Essex or they might live in Hertfordshire? Are they going to be eligible? Or
so thank you, Chantal, and really good point. Actually, it's a point that we've not considered. So we will put that on the Q&A log and absolutely provide a definitive answer. My sense, however, given the policy intent of Trailblazer, is that a participant would have to be living within a Trailblazer area postcode in order to be eligible to join the programme. But I can't guarantee that. That's just my sense of things. So we will get a definitive answer from both DWP and GLA, and I'll come back to you.
perfect. Thanks, John. Thanks, Josh. Thank you, guys.
Okay, any more questions from anybody? I'm going to take the silence as a no, which is always fantastic. However, if you do have any questions, you can always reach out to myself via email. More than happy to get back to you. Like we said, we will be creating like an FAQ style document, so we can then cascade that out to everybody on the call, especially where reoccurring questions keep coming up. So we can always result back to that. The last request from myself would be Miranda's kindly popped in a poll into the chat. Now, if everybody could complete this for us, that will feed back to CLF exactly how useful this Market Woman session has been, and it will also give us the reasons why, so we can take that into consideration for any future Market Woman sessions. So again, thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on here, and we look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. All right.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.